Hey guys, and welcome back to the Sonic Adventure 2 commentary. So I'm tired of being like a goody-goody piece of shit, so we're gonna be the bad guys this time. Yeah!
Good hedgehog,
I
evil
would be
hedgehog.
tired of that too, but only because it sounds like being an oxymoron is exhausting.
Piece of shit adventure 2 battle.
Now, I do like this opening cutscene, but the explosion graphics are clearly just a picture of an explosion copy and pasted over Eggman walking around an empty room, so
Yeah.
that's a little weird.
Eugene Acker just discovered After Effects.
This has always bothered
Look
me.
at all these explosion nets.
Yeah, you know, they kind of use special effects in some of these cutscenes, a few of them, that look like they're meant to look like effects for a live-action movie, like live-action water or a live-action explosion, but set against in-game video game graphics, it just looks silly.
Yeah, because and I'm convinced those special effects are the reasons why even in the HD release the cutscenes are still using a 4:3 aspect ratio.
Yeah.
Because if it was true widescreen, the explosion graphics would probably be cut off on the sides and it'd look awkward as fuck.
So the cutscenes aren't running in-game, they're just using the in-game models and our video
they're
files?
pre-rendered. They're pre-rendered.
Huh, that's weird. Now anyway, this is, what's this called? Prison Lane's the,
Iron Gate.
Iron Gate, okay, yeah.
The ending of that cutscene though is so awkward. He's just speaking to himself because like the government shut down his research because they feared
We need exposition, man. We need to know why Eggman's here and why he's blowing up shit. That's important and stuff.
Character motivations.
Yeah.
To comment on something you said earlier, Ted, was whether or not people played the hero side story first before the dark side story. And I think pretty much all of us played the hero side story first in our first playthrough. But if you played the dark side story first and you beat the game, you get that wonderful ending sequence.
Sonic the Hedgehog was arrested.
I don't think I've ever seen that maybe in like YouTube videos, but not in game.
So was arrested. No. My favorite line is this incident increased worldwide terrorist activity.
Wait, what?
Sonic the Hedgehog was arrested.
Wait, whoa, hold on a moment. That is something goddamn important that they forgot to bring up in the goddamn plot. Okay. But yeah, like, I don't know, like, the dark side, I have a hard time thinking about playing the dark side story before the hero side story because the hero side honestly has very little plot, and the dark side is where you get all of the backstory regarding Shadow, Gun, Gerald Robotnik, and all that jazz. So, like, I can't imagine playing the dark side story and having all that, and then, you know, having the hero side story where it's just like, oh, you gotta find the key to Eggman's base, go do it, Knuckles. It's just, it seems a little jarring. I don't know.
The thing about the two sides is that the dark side story is very proactive.
Yeah, it's actually kind of weird the way that they do it. It's kind of lopsided. The beginning and the end are very dark, but the middle is almost all hero. Because if you look at like the timeline for the game, there's probably like 8 levels before you really get to the point where you get to like Metal Harbor in the hero side story, but then there's like over the span of 2 levels in the dark side story, there's like 10 levels in the hero side story. So it's oddly paced like that, and you know, it's not really a huge deal, but it makes it odd for me to think about playing the dark side before the hero side story. I don't know.
The dark side story is overall shorter than the hero side story.
14 stages as opposed to 16, I think.
I think that's I think that's the number.
Yeah, because Sonic has 6 levels, but Shadow only has 4. So, oh, I didn't mean to get the animal out of the tube there. It just kind of happened. So, yeah. But yeah, I think honestly this is probably a better introductory level to the mech shooting than Tails' first stage.
I love how the gun military base has a missile just inside this hallway, and a button designed to point it directly at their security door. It's like, okay, we've got to have a really big line of security doors to prevent people from getting in here. But we wouldn't want to get locked out ourselves, so let's put a big fucking missile in front of it.
On the opposite side.
That's how everybody actually went to go check on Shadow. Like, a nurse comes in once a month to see if his vitals are still going, and then he has to launch a missile at the doors and have them all explode, and then maintenance comes in the next day and puts them all back. So
This is very expensive.
Is the hedgehog awake yet? No, blow up the doors.
yeah, so the government just kind of gives up fighting Eggman because he gets like 20 minutes to open up the capsule here without anybody coming to get him before they're like, oh shit, send the boss robot. So yeah.
Well, he's causing all sorts of chaos, but they don't necessarily know at this point what he's there for.
Good point, actually. Now that you think about it, and
I think if they are gauging his progress or are paying attention to where he's headed, they get an idea.
Yeah, but
They might.
yeah, I think so. But I also got the idea that not many people knew that Shadow was in here because the whole thing on the Ark was a cover-up to begin with. So, I guess that only high-ranking people knew that this was what's in this room that he was.
They never go into detail on that, and I guess that's one of the low points of this story is they never go into detail about that.
I guess partly because it's not important, but
Well, if you're going to
not
bring
important.
the
It's the
military
entire
into
driving
it,
force of the plot. I would
if
say.
you're going to bring the military and conspiracies into it, you really got to explain that shit.
Well, I'd say the details aren't important. For Shadow, the only thing is that they killed Maria, and he wants revenge, and he was kept by the military. I should have probably refreshed on the details before we started this so that I can make this point a little bit more clearly. But the thing about it is that when they tried to bring the whole military conspiracy stuff back into the plot in Shadow the Hedgehog, it really just wasn't that interesting because Gun isn't that interesting. They're just the military. So
Shadow was like putting a band-aid over a bullet wound.
Yeah. But the thing, he doesn't actually spend that much time down here without being detected, because this guy shows up so fast. But Shadow does not have a bounce bracelet.
No, so you actually do have to jump on the boxes if you want to speed the process up. And unfortunately, the small missiles... Oh, come on, game.
That happens to me all the time.
Yeah, the small missiles can break the boxes, so if he breaks all of them, you got to do it the long way. So, yeah.
At least this one doesn't have, all those boxes outside the border of the boss fight that you, for some reason, can't jump on. Because you...
Yeah, true, but it's also the harder version of the fight, because he's got that laser shooty thingy.
I wouldn't exactly say harder, just longer, because every time he uses that goddamn thing, well, it just sort of stalls the fight out for several seconds.
Same thing.
I don't really remember how the laser actually shoots at you if it goes, though, because I usually jump on a box and hit him, and I don't remember the last time he's actually managed to launch that attack at me.
Can I just say, whenever I see Shadow cross his arms like that, fold them over his chest, it looks so weird in this game because of the way it's animated. Because he can't put his hand, he can't tuck his hand inside his arm like you would when you're folding your arms like that. So he just sort of awkwardly places his hands on his elbows instead.
Dude, this is the game where Eggman doesn't have a wrist, alright?
I sort of thought Dragon Ball Z when I first played this. Shadow's opening line is I'll grant you one wish, and then Eggman asks for elaboration, and then he says, bring me the 7 Chaos Emeralds. I was like, oh shit, he's gonna summon Shenron. I was like, yeah, that'll grant the wish.
Hey, isn't this the same exact cutscene we saw in the last story?
Just with different music.
Yeah.
Just with worse editing.
I think it would have benefited if we saw it from different perspectives.
You mean like SA1, where instead of Sonic beating up Eggman, it's Tails beating up Eggman, right?
Yeah.
Well, there's that
shit,
as
man. That's
well,
awesome.
but you can get a different effect just by focusing the camera angles in a different way. But Adventure 2 doesn't even try to do that.
That's another reason why SA one's better.
Now, it's just, in Sonic Adventure 3, in Sonic 3 and Knuckles, Eggman's whole plan was to steal this thing. Now, I think I'll just take it with me. Okay, whatever.
Something
I guess I could use it for something.
Something I never understood about the character designs in this game in particular. For some reason, Knuckles and Rouge just have darker skin than they do in all
Yeah,
the
they have
other
like
games.
their muzzles are a lot
And
darker.
that's a change for Adventure 2 Battle specifically because in the original Dreamcast release, they were lighter colored.
Yeah, but why make that change?
I don't know.
And then
Slightly lighter, but it was still a lot darker.
it's like, why make that change and then
Maybe just for added contrast? I don't know. It's odd.
yeah, it's like why make that change and then not do anything with it later in future games? I don't get it.
Ugh. Okay, so Rouge's stages. Okay, so I can find some entertainment in Knuckles' treasure hunting stages. I mean, granted, treasure hunting is still probably unanimously agreed to be the weakest gameplay aspect of this game. And, you know, I can't really argue with that, but you can, I think, you know, when people say that, like, Rouge and Tails were added at the last minute, you can tell that way more with Rouge, because almost all of Rouge's levels are terrible. Actually, the only one I think is genuinely well-designed is Security Hall, and that level's just incredibly frustrating because of the goddamn 5-minute time limit. So, yeah, like, I don't like Dry Lagoon, I don't like whatever her not Death Chamber level is, and we'll get to Mad Space, so yeah, Rouge is probably the weakest aspect of this entire game to me.
Great music, but shit design.
Yeah, it's everything's way more cumbersome than Knuckles levels, because, like, if you compare footage of Knuckles' levels, most of them are very open in that you can glide and climb around a lot and explore. With Rouge, everything's very sectioned off, and you have to, like, go into specific areas. Like here, I thought that the emerald was in that little cell in there, and so I was trying to fumble around and remember the way in, but it's just actually somewhere else. It's always a process to get every single emerald, even if you know exactly where it is in Rouge's stages, and that annoys me quite a bit, actually.
Yeah, she does have that way of making everything hard to get to.
Yeah, Rouge has a way of making things harder, right? Am I right, lads?
Oh, Gareth, never change, except please do.
It's like you're picking up the tab, right?
I will say, I think Rouge has hands down the funniest running animation. Like her arms stay by her side and her legs just get faster.
Her
and
feet
faster.
are huge. They're
I know,
fucking
it's-
gargantuan. What Knuckles has in hands, Rouge has in feet.
They're made for each other then.
They should have
Yeah.
called her Toes the Bat.
We should probably like cut them both in half and stitch them together.
Well,
Oh god, what kind of abomination would that be?
well, theoretically, that would make Rouge stronger than Knuckles, because the legs are much stronger muscle-wise than the arms are, so, yeah.
That's a good point because Knuckles is like 80% hands, and he has like the scrawniest arms to support them.
And then he puts all this junk on them after.
That's why we
why we
needed
need-
Buffles
that's why
the
we need
Inch
Buffles.
Little. Oh, God! Gareth, we are made for each other.
I love Buffles.
Man, you know what? This level is almost identical in structure to Knuckles' one, and yet somehow it's more annoying because it just has stuff in it that's harder to get to.
It's not just this one. I forget the name of it, but her not Death Chamber level is near.
I think it's the egg
Life
quarters.
Chamber.
Yeah, life.
Life Chamber.
I think it's egg quarters.
Egg quarters, yes, that's it. Thank you. Great music in that level too, but it's almost the same exact structure. It's just way more annoying because of the goddamn beetle robot and whatever.
Rouge, in terms of music, Rouge actually has the highest production value because aside from like guitars and basses and shit, they actually hired like jazz musicians to play for Rouge.
Yeah.
I think it's I think Security Hall, they hired like a Japanese jazz trio.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is
Like-
definitely a real flute because synthetic flutes wouldn't really be able to get the same kind of. Oh God, I used to play the flute, so I know the name for it, but the kind of doo kind of effect to the sound.
Okay, yeah.
Trill.
Trill. Oh, thank you, dude.
Well, it's weird because like when you get to like Metal Harbor, all that brass is fake.
Well, it still
It's
sounds.
kind
It
of-
still
it's kind of-
sounds good.
It sounds good, but like you think that because this being a Sonic game, you think they'd spend the money on Sonic's levels rather than just name this bat character no one really gives a crap about. You know, what my favorite thing was on Twitter. June Sonoy he constantly gets like questions like, "What's your favorite Sonic game?" What have you. There was one time where he was like, "Who's your least favorite character?" And June Sonoy was like, "I don't know, probably Rouge." I don't know why. I thought that was funny.
Something interesting on Jun Sonoy's Twitter that I saw was that apparently his favorite game to work on was Shadow the Hedgehog musically, and
Oh, no, that was something. Yeah, that was at Yomicon when they just performed with Johnny Joe Welly. I asked him what his favorite games. No, that wasn't me. Sorry, someone asked him what his favorite games to work on was, and he normally says SA2 is like his stock answer. But then he said he liked to work on Shadow because it gave him a chance to do like a different genre that they hadn't have done before and hasn't done since because it
because I don't think it was that good.
well, no, Shadow has.
Shadow has some good tracks. Shadow has some good tracks, but as a whole, I don't think that soundtrack is one of his best works.
Yeah, there are standout pieces. Like I know we mentioned this way back in the Shadow commentary, but I think Gun Fortress is still one of the best Sonic songs. Period. But
I love Air Fleet.
I can't remember.
I
So,
can't remember
Jun
anything.
Sonoy,
Yeah.
I was really digging your work in Sonic the Hedgehog 4 Episode 1. What was it like working with dying cats?
We starved the cats for many days to get the sound for Casino Street Act 2 just right. So I love speaking to like one time like Drew can get really candid sometimes. I remember asking him when the Sonic 4 soundtrack came out. I was like, so Drew, I was curious why are these Sonic 2? Why is the Episode 2 tracks before Episode 1? And he was just like, that game came out sooner. Are you stupid? Put those tracks on first. Like, I'm sorry, Mr. Sonoy. I'll never question you again.